The massive diplomatic vessel of the Galactic Council glided through space, its sleek purple hull reflecting distant starlight. Inside, Ambassador Tom studied the holographic display of Earth with growing concern. This was supposed to be a routine first contact mission, but the initial scans told a very different story. "Sir, you need to see this," said his assistant, pointing to the historical data. "These humans, they'd survived 3 world wars. They split the atom just to use it as a weapon. And look at these extinction events. They lived through all of them." Tom's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of deep worry in his species. The more they learned about Earth, the more unusual it seemed. Most civilizations they contacted were peaceful, having evolved past their violent tendencies before reaching space. But humans, they were still fighting among themselves even as they reached for the stars. The ship's science officer burst into the room, his tentacles twisted in excitement. "Ambassador, our biological scans are complete. You won't believe this. They're pursuit predators." The room fell silent. In all the known galaxy, no other spacefaring race had evolved from predators who hunted by chasing their prey to exhaustion. Most species were either peaceful gatherers or quick-strike hunters. The implications were terrifying. "That's impossible," Tom whispered. "No pursuit predator has ever reached this level of technology. They usually destroy themselves first." But the evidence was clear. These humans had not only survived but thrived. They had cities in frozen wastelands and burning deserts. Their bodies could heal from injuries that would kill most species. They could go days without sleep, survive extreme temperature changes, and their endurance was unmatched in the galaxy. As their ship approached Earth's orbit, they intercepted human communications. The crew watched in fascination as humans broadcast their entertainment, stories filled with war, conflict, and something they called action movies. "They make entertainment out of combat," one crew member noted with horror. "They simulate war for fun." The first meeting was scheduled with Earth's United Nations. As the Council ship descended through the atmosphere, they noticed something else unusual: military vessels from different nations tracking their approach. Most species would have presented a unified front, but humans kept their separate armies even while meeting alien life. In the UN building, the human delegates waited calmly. Too calmly, Tom thought. Most species showed fear or excitement at first contact. These humans looked curious, almost eager. "Welcome to Earth," said the UN Secretary General, smiling. "We've been waiting for this moment." Tom felt a chill run through his body. The humans had been watching the skies, preparing for this moment. And unlike other races who waited to be discovered, humans had been actively seeking out alien life. As the initial pleasantries were exchanged, Tom noticed something else: the casual way human guards held their weapons, their confident stance, their alert eyes that never stopped scanning the room. These weren't nervous creatures meeting advanced aliens. These were seasoned warriors assessing potential threats. The Galactic Council had wanted to guide and teach humanity. Looking at these humans, Tom realized they might have made a terrible mistake. They hadn't found another primitive species to nurture. They had awakened a sleeping giant. 3 months after joining the Galactic Council, humans were already causing concern. The incident at Space Station Delta made it impossible to ignore the signs any longer. It started when the station's life support system failed. While other alien species rushed to their emergency pods, the human workers calmly put on their basic breathing masks and continued fixing the problem. They worked for 6 hours in near-freezing temperatures that would have killed most species. "They're not normal," muttered Head Counselor Ray, watching the security footage. "Look at them working in those conditions like it's nothing." The council chamber buzzed with nervous whispers. They had all seen the reports. A human construction worker survived a vacuum breach for almost 2 minutes before rescue. A human ship captain stayed awake for 5 days straight during an emergency. A human child survived falling from a height that would have killed any other species. But it was the trade dispute that truly opened their eyes. When the rock people of Mars Colony refused to honor their mining contracts, Everyone expected a long legal battle. Instead, the humans sent a single warship into orbit. No threats were made. No shots were fired. The ship just sat there, silent and dark. The rock people gave in within a day. How did they know? Asked a council member during emergency session. The rock people's one fear is being trapped underground. Somehow the humans knew that ship's presence would remind them they could be cut off from the surface. More disturbing reports followed. The humans had taken the council's advanced technology and immediately found ways to use it as weapons. Medical healing beams were modified to work as cutting tools. Terraforming equipment was adapted for military purposes. Even their civilian ships had weapon mounts hidden under innocent-looking panels. "Look at this," said the council's military advisor, displaying a human history book. "They call it dual-use technology. Everything they build serves both peaceful and military purposes. Everything." The council watched with growing unease as humans spread through space. They built their colonies in the most dangerous places: volcanic moons, high-gravity planets, even asteroid belts, places no other species would risk living. Then came the training incident. A human military unit visited the council's elite warrior academy for a friendly exchange. The humans, using only basic weapons and no battle armor, defeated every advanced combat training system the academy had. "It's not just their strength or technology," explained the academy's headmaster. "It's how they think. They have thousands of combat styles. They turn weaknesses into strengths. They actually plan for failure and make it part of their strategy." In the council chamber, Ray looked at the latest report with worry. Humans had just opened their first military base in council space. They called it a peacekeeping force. "They're not like us," he told his fellow council members. "Other species evolved to avoid conflict. Humans evolved to win conflicts. They don't just fight. They study warfare like it's science. They prepare for war even in times of peace." And aid rushed in with more news. The humans had just announced their first Space Marine division. They were calling it a diplomatic security force. No one in the council chamber was fooled. They all understood the warning signs. The galaxy was changing, and peaceful times were coming to an end. When the swarm attacked the outer human colonies, the Galactic Council expected humans to run. Every other species ran from the swarm. Their hive mind made them unbeatable. They learned instantly from any defeat, shared all knowledge across their billions of drones, and never retreated. Nobody told the humans they were supposed to run. "They're doing what?" asked the council's military commander, staring at the battle reports in disbelief. "Fighting back, sir," replied his aide. "The humans, they're using different tactics on every colony. The swarm can't adapt because there's no single strategy to learn from. On Colony Alpha, humans fought from underground bunkers, using the planet's tunnel systems. On Beta Station, they turned the whole station into a trap, venting sections to space when swarm forces entered. On Colony Charlie, they abandoned the planet entirely, only to return once the swarm landed, attacking from orbit with pinpoint strikes. The swarm's hive mind, used to learning and adapting to a single enemy strategy, found itself overwhelmed by hundreds of different human combat styles. "Look at this footage," the commander pointed at a screen. "These humans are using ancient weapons, projectile guns, and explosive devices, alongside energy weapons. They're mixing technologies from different eras. The swarm doesn't know how to process such chaos." But the real shock came when humans discovered how the hive mind worked. Instead of trying to destroy it, they began attacking its communication system. They filled swarm networks with false information and conflicting orders. Some human hackers even managed to feed the hive mind old human war movies, confusing it with fictional battles. "Brilliant," whispered Dr. Gray, the council's chief scientist. "The swarm processes all information as truth. It can't understand deception. It never needed to lie, so it never learned to detect lies." The humans called it psychological warfare, a concept that horrified other council species, but proved devastatingly effective against the swarm. Then came the final battle. The swarm, desperate to understand their enemy, committed their largest force ever to attacking Earth itself. They expected to find humanity's central command, their unified strategy. Instead, they found 7 billion individuals thinking and fighting in their own ways. This is unprecedented, reported a council observer. Every human nation, every military unit, even civilian groups, they're all fighting differently. The swarm tries to adapt to one strategy and gets hit by 12 others. In just 6 days, the unbeatable swarm experienced something new: total defeat. In the aftermath, the council chambers were silent as they watched videos from Earth. Humans were already studying captured swarm technology, adapting it for their own use. They were building new defenses based on what they'd learned. 10,000 years, muttered a council elder. The swarm terrorized this galaxy for 10,000 years. Humans beat them in less than a month. But it was a junior council member who spoke the words they all were thinking. We were wrong to fear the swarm. We should have been fearing the humans all along. The humans, meanwhile, simply went back to their colonies and started rebuilding. For them, it had just been another fight. For the galaxy, it was the day everything changed. After the swarm's defeat, the Galactic Council decided to study human history more closely. They quickly wished they hadn't. "This can't be right," whispered council historian Jack, his 3 hands shaking as he read the ancient texts. They had weapons that could destroy their entire planet, and they built thousands of them, just to make sure no one would use them. The concept of mutually assured destruction terrified the council species. The idea that humans had lived for decades with the ability to end all life on their world, and considered this normal, was beyond comprehension. But it got worse. They have 27 different words just for types of warfare, reported the linguistics team. Guerrilla warfare, chemical warfare, biological warfare, psychological warfare, cyber warfare. Most species just have one word for war. Humans categorize it like a science. In the council's main chamber, the evidence kept mounting. Humans had fought so many wars they divided them into world wars just to keep track. They had special awards for their warriors, celebrating those who killed the most enemies. They even had sports that simulated combat. "Look at this," said a military analyst, displaying more findings. When humans aren't fighting wars, they practice fighting wars. They have entire buildings, paintball arenas, where they pretend to shoot each other for fun. The council's peace committee called an emergency session. Some members suggested limiting human expansion. Others wanted to restrict their access to advanced technology. "We can't risk it," argued one delegate. Their own history shows they use every scientific advance to make better weapons. They turned the power of the atom into bombs before they used it for energy. But the Security Committee had disturbing news. They had run simulations of trying to contain humanity. Every scenario ended the same way, with humans fighting back and winning. "You don't understand," explained the security chief. "Humans don't just fight with weapons. They fight with economics, with culture, with information. Try to block their trade. They'll create black markets. Try to isolate them. They'll turn other species against us. They call it hybrid warfare, another type of war they invented." The council chambers fell silent when they found human entertainment videos called documentaries. These showed how humans fought their wars, revealed their military strategies, and explained their warfare technologies, not as secrets, but as public knowledge. "They're not hiding any of this," said Jack, his voice trembling. "They want everyone to know what they're capable of. It's not just about fighting. It's about making sure everyone knows they can fight." In the end, the council took no action against humans. They couldn't. The mere discussion of containing humanity had leaked, and human diplomats simply smiled during the next meeting. The message was clear. Humans knew the council had studied their history. They knew the other species now understood what humans were capable of. That was exactly what they wanted. Perhaps, suggested one wise council member, being afraid of humans isn't a problem. Perhaps it's the most rational response any species could have. The council agreed. Fear of humans wasn't just natural, it was necessary for survival. The galaxy would never be the same. The space pirates made only one mistake. They attacked a human transport ship carrying families to the outer colonies. They didn't know this would change piracy forever. A human civilian ship was attacked in Sector 7, announced the Council's emergency broadcast. All species are advised to avoid that sector until the situation is resolved. The pirates celebrated their successful raid. They had done this hundreds of times before. Sure, they lost 3 ships to the human vessels' surprisingly strong defenses, but they eventually won. They thought this was the end. They were wrong. This was just the beginning. Within hours, human warships appeared across the galaxy. They didn't just hunt in their own space. They went everywhere. The Council watched in shock as humans ignored traditional space boundaries, following pirate trails through any territory they could find. "What do you mean they're using merchant ships as bait?" asked a Council security officer, staring at the reports. "They're deliberately sending out vulnerable-looking cargo ships, filled with soldiers." The humans called it a sting operation. The pirates called it their worst nightmare. Then came the real surprise. The humans weren't just fighting pirates. They were dismantling their entire network. They froze pirate bank accounts, blocked their fuel supplies, and turned their own contractors against them. These humans, reported a Council investigator, they're offering pardons to any pirate who betrays their leaders. They're paying for information. They're even hiring former pirates to hunt other pirates. The pirate leadership tried to negotiate. They offered to return everything they stole from the human transport. They'd promised to never attack human ships again. The human response was simple. "You attacked our families. There will be no negotiations." By the 3rd week, the pirates lost half their fleet. The humans weren't just destroying pirate ships. They were capturing them, learning their secrets, and using their own tactics against them. "It's not just about winning," explained a human military advisor to the horrified Council. "It's about making sure this never happens again." The pirates made their last stand at their secret base in the Outer Rim. They had gathered their remaining ships, hired extra gunners, and prepared for a massive battle. The humans ended it in 6 minutes. "How?" demanded the Council's war historian. "How did they find the base so quickly?" The answer was simple. Humans had learned that every pirate ship needed to refuel. They didn't waste time searching the galaxy. They just followed the fuel shipments. 1 month after the attack on the transport ship, piracy in Council space effectively ended. The few surviving pirates surrendered or fled to unknown regions. Their bases were destroyed, their networks broken, their assets seized. In the Council chambers, the delegates watched the final report with a mixture of awe and terror. The humans had done in 1 month what the Council couldn't do in a century. "Was this revenge?" asked a Council member. "No," replied the human ambassador, smiling coldly. "This was a proportional response. If we wanted revenge, we wouldn't have left any pirates alive to surrender." The message spread quickly through the galaxy. Never harm human civilians. The consequences were too terrible to imagine. The age of space piracy was over. The age of human justice had begun. The galaxy changed forever when the Ancient Ones woke up. Their massive ships appeared from deep space, dark and powerful, built with technology no modern species could match. "They're demanding our surrender," announced the Council leader, his voice shaking. "Their smallest ship just destroyed our largest battle station. We have no defense against them." The Council races panicked. Some suggested immediate surrender. Others wanted to flee to unknown space. The Ancient Ones had technology from 1,000,000 years ago, refined and perfected over time. How could anyone fight that? Then the human ambassador stood up. "We'll handle this," he said simply. The Council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Even facing extinction, They were more afraid of what humans might do than the Ancient Ones. They were right to be afraid. The first human response shocked everyone. Instead of sending warships, they sent what looked like empty cargo containers into space. "What are they doing?" asked a council member. The answer came when the Ancient One's first attack fleet approached Earth. Suddenly, those empty containers exploded, releasing clouds of microscopic robots. The nanobots ate through the ancient ship's hulls like acid through paper. "Impossible," shouted the Ancient One's leader. "Our shields can stop any weapon." "Yes," replied the human commander. "That's why we didn't use weapons." But humans were just getting started. While the Ancient Ones tried to adapt their shields, human hackers attacked their computer systems. They didn't try to break through the advanced defenses. Instead, they overloaded them with junk data, what humans called a DDoS attack. "Their technology is too advanced," explained a human general to the council. "So we're using the oldest, simplest attacks we know." Sometimes, the most primitive solution works best against advanced enemies. The Ancient Ones, used to fighting with advanced energy weapons and shield technology, had no defense against human primitive tactics. Their million-year-old ships were helpless against simple computer viruses, chemical attacks, and swarms of tiny robots. "This is not warfare," protested the Ancient One's commander. This is chaos." "Exactly," replied the human admiral. "Welcome to human warfare." But the greatest shock came when humans revealed their secret weapon. They had been studying Ancient One technology long before the war started. Every time an Ancient One ship was destroyed, humans recovered and analyzed the pieces. "They're learning our technology," warned an Ancient One scientist. "Not just using it, they're improving it." The council watched in amazement as humans turned the Ancient One's superior technology against them. When the Ancient Ones tried to adapt, humans simply changed tactics again. "We don't need to match their technology," explained the human commander. "We just need to find its weaknesses. Everything has a weakness." In the council chamber, the delegates finally understood. The Ancient Ones had spent 1,000,000 years perfecting their technology. But humans, they had spent their entire history learning how to defeat enemies stronger than themselves. "Perhaps," suggested a council elder, "being primitive isn't always a disadvantage." The humans just smiled. They knew what the rest of the galaxy was learning. Sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't technology. It's the willingness to try anything to win. While the council races still struggled to understand the Ancient One's technology, humans took a different approach. They weren't interested in matching the enemy's power. They wanted to break it. "Watch this," said a human scientist, showing the council their latest discovery. The lab contained captured Ancient One technology, but not in one piece. Humans had taken everything apart, studying each component separately. "They built perfect systems," explained the scientist. "But perfect systems are predictable, and predictable means vulnerable." The council didn't understand, but they soon would. The first breakthrough came when human engineers discovered the Ancient One ships used artificial intelligence for targeting. Instead of trying to defeat it, humans overloaded it with false targets. Millions of tiny drones, each broadcasting signals that made it look like a warship. "Their targeting computers crash," reported a battle observer. "Million-year-old technology, defeated by what humans call spam." But humans were just getting started. They discovered the Ancient One's ships needed perfect formation to share their energy shields. So humans launched space mines that didn't explode. They just pushed ships slightly out of position. 1,000,000 years of technology, laughed a human commander, beaten by basic physics. The council was amazed, but also frightened. Humans weren't just fighting. They were treating war like a puzzle to be solved. They tried hundreds of different attacks, celebrating each failure because it taught them something new. Then came the biological warfare. Humans discovered the Ancient One ships used living metal that could repair itself. The solution? Humans created a virus that made the metal grow too fast, making ships fall apart from their own repair systems. "That's impossible," protested an Ancient One leader. "Our technology is too advanced for such primitive attacks." "Exactly," replied the human general. "You're so advanced, you forgot how to defend against simple things." The turning point came when humans introduced something they called chaos theory into battle. They didn't try to win every fight. Instead, they created situations where the Ancient One's own perfect systems worked against them. "Look at this," said a council military advisor, showing battle footage. Humans damaged an Ancient One ship's sensor array. Instead of destroying the ship, they let it rejoin its fleet. The damaged sensors made the ship's AI think friendly ships were enemies. The result? The Ancient One's perfect formation fell apart as their own ships started firing at each other. In the council chambers, many species finally understood what made humans different. Other races saw warfare as a test of strength or technology. Humans saw it as a test of adaptation and creativity. "They're not just fighting with weapons," observed the council elder. "They're fighting with ideas." The Ancient Ones had spent 1,000,000 years becoming perfect. Humans had spent their history learning to exploit imperfection. "Perhaps," suggested a human diplomat, "being perfect isn't as useful as being clever." The Ancient Ones were learning a hard lesson. Advanced technology couldn't save them from human ingenuity. Their perfect systems were failing against what they considered primitive attacks. Sometimes, the old ways were the deadliest. And humans knew all the old ways. The Ancient Ones made their final desperate move, a massive attack on Earth itself. They thought humans would try to protect their homeworld at all costs. They didn't understand that humans would sacrifice everything to win. "They're burning their own orbital stations," reported an Ancient One commander in disbelief. "They're destroying their own defenses." But the humans weren't destroying their defenses. They were turning everything into a weapon. Each burning station created a field of debris, making the Ancient One's perfect formations impossible. Every destroyed satellite became thousands of high-speed projectiles. "It's a trap," realized the Ancient One leader. Too late. They're not defending Earth. They're turning Earth's orbit into a killing zone. The council watched in horror as humans enacted what they called scorched earth tactics. They deliberately destroyed their own space elevators, using the falling cables to slice through enemy ships. They detonated their own fuel depots, creating waves of plasma that overloaded the Ancient One shields. "Are they insane?" asked a council member. "They're destroying their own infrastructure." "No," replied a human general. "We're denying the enemy any advantage. Everything they can use, we destroy. Everything we can't use, we turn into a weapon." The Ancient Ones, faced with this level of dedication, hesitated. In their 1,000,000 years of existence, they had never faced an enemy willing to sacrifice their own world to win. Then humans revealed their final strategy. They hadn't been randomly destroying things. They had been herding the Ancient One's fleet into position. "Now," ordered the human commander. Earth's magnetic poles suddenly reversed. The humans had built massive electromagnetic pulse generators in their polar regions. The pulse wave was so powerful it could be seen from space, a blue ring of energy that spread outward like a shockwave. The Ancient One's perfect technology proved to be their weakness. Their advanced systems, dependent on precise magnetic fields, failed instantly. Their ships, suddenly powerless, began falling into Earth's gravity well. "Impossible," screamed the Ancient One leader. No species would risk their own magnetic field. But humans had prepared for this. Their primitive technology, hardened against EMPs, continued working. Their ships, running on what the Ancient Ones considered outdated systems, launched the final attack. The battle for Earth lasted less than 6 hours. When it was over, the Ancient One's main fleet was destroyed, and Earth's orbit was filled with debris that would take centuries to clear. In the council chambers, the delegates watched the aftermath footage in silence. The humans had won, but at a terrible cost. Their orbital infrastructure was gone, their space elevator network destroyed. Their satellite system would need complete rebuilding. "Was it worth it?" asked a council member. The human ambassador looked up, his eyes hard. "They threatened our home. The cost doesn't matter. Only the victory." The council finally understood why humans were so feared. Other races fought to win. Humans fought to end all fights. Other races tried to preserve themselves. Humans would burn everything, including themselves, to defeat their enemies. The Ancient Ones had brought advanced technology to the battle. Humans had brought determination. In the end, determination proved stronger than any technology. The final council meeting after the Ancient Ones' defeat was unlike any before. The massive chamber, usually filled with debate and argument, sat in thoughtful silence. "We need to discuss the humans," said the council leader, looking at the battle reports. "They saved us all, but at what cost? They destroyed years of progress just to win a single war." An image appeared on the main screen. Earth, its orbit now crowded with debris fields and destroyed stations. The humans were already at work, clearing paths through the wreckage, rebuilding what was lost. "Look at them," said a council member. "Their world is scared. Their space lanes are ruined, and they're just fixing it, like it's normal." That was when the council finally understood. For humans, it was normal. Their entire history was a cycle of destruction and rebuilding. They didn't just survive disasters. They learned from them, grew stronger, built better. "Maybe we were wrong," suggested an elder council member. "We saw their violence as a weakness, their destructive nature as a flaw. But without those traits, we'd all be slaves to the Ancient Ones now." The human ambassador stood to address the council. The chamber fell silent. No one interrupted when humans spoke anymore. "You fear us," he said simply. "You fear our wars, our weapons, our willingness to destroy. But ask yourselves, when the Ancient Ones came, who did you turn to? When pirates threatened your worlds, who did you call? When the swarm attacked, who fought them back? No one answered. They didn't need to. You fear us because we're dangerous," the ambassador continued. "But the galaxy is dangerous. You need dangerous allies to survive dangerous times." The council members looked at each other. He was right. The peaceful galaxy they'd known was gone. The Ancient Ones' attack proved that greater threats might still lurk in deep space. "We don't want to rule," the ambassador explained. "We don't want to conquer. We just want to make sure that if something threatens our people or our allies, we can fight back." A younger council member stood up. Perhaps being feared isn't so bad. The Ancient Ones feared no one, and that was their weakness. They weren't ready for real resistance. Slowly, the council began to nod. They'd learned an important lesson. Peace wasn't just about being peaceful. Sometimes peace had to be protected. Sometimes you needed warriors to keep the peace. And humans, they were the greatest warriors the galaxy had ever seen. "We propose a new agreement," said the council leader. "Humans will serve as the galaxy's protectors. In return, we'll help them rebuild what they sacrificed to save us all." The human ambassador smiled. "We accept." As the council session ended, the members watched Earth's image one last time. Among the debris and destruction, human ships moved purposefully, clearing paths, building new stations. They weren't just rebuilding their world. They were building a new galaxy, one where peace was protected by the most dangerous species ever known. Fear of humans had become the galaxy's greatest security. And somehow, that felt right.